Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello, hello, hello there.
Okay, so this one this is something I've been holding back for a week or so. Now it's a transmission we had gotten from Laurel, Galactic Federation, Pleiadian High Council, that we're going to share. But I guess I was just waiting for the right opportunity. It's going to touch on a lot of things that we've talked about for you that have followed the channel for the 4.5 years or so that we've been up, starting on Evolutionary and then continuing on EEARTS. It's going to cover a lot of the things that I started with. These are the first topics that we really talked about. What is reality, the holographic nature of reality, the fractal universe? How does this tie in when we look at modern day quantum physics and we look to the mystic traditions of the past, of thousands of years ago, maybe 10,000s of years ago, or even farther back? And so yesterday, as we're looking at the Earth, right? We're looking at the Earth from above. They are telling us this is a picture from a satellite, right? Yesterday we brought this up, and we were talking about 40 people missing after the first flat Earth surfing championship. You all be careful now.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had a laugh because, in these times we need a laugh. And in case you haven't noticed, we've been trying to get people to laugh a little bit more because, we're in trying times. It's stressful out there. So it was hilarious to actually have one person say, how could you make fun of 40 people, missing? The whole thing was a joke. I guess that went right over their head. It was a joke from the get-go. There is no flat Earth surfing championship.
No, there's not. Sorry, you guys. Sorry for those that we tricked. We didn't mean to. But we just do. Laughter is so good for you. It actually releases chemicals in your body that are very, very healing. So laughter, smiling, all of that stuff is very healing. So that's what Mike and I do. We're healers. We want to bring some of that to you wherever we can.
Yes, and bring in some knowledge. So, when we look at the whole concept of a flat Earth, there is lots of evidence from varying traditions talking about the Earth in the sense that it's a flat Earth. And as I've said in the past, there's a couple ways of looking at it. And if we found out that, hey, the whole time we've been on here, it's been basically an alien ship, taken from leftover remnants of Tiamat, very much like the movie Dark City. If you guys remember Dark City with Rufus Sewell and Kiefer Sutherland, that was a great classic, all about aliens that body snatch. They kind of look like these nasty, squirmy, slimy, wormy things, but they take over the dead bodies of humans and animate them in order to do experiments to find out the nature of human consciousness and what's missing, because these aliens don't seem to have a soul. Interesting. Reflections on the Greys again. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to understand the human heart and love and all that. And, in the end, it's very much like The Matrix. The main character, portrayed by Rufus Sewell, he develops powers equal to their own, these telepathic powers. And he ends up doing battle and taking over the ship, which is facing away from the sun, and he turns it towards the sun because they can't stand the light of the sun, but we love the light of the sun. And so, you see the ship, which is just like basically like this. It's kind of a flat Earth type of ship, which they change everything every day doing their experiments. They take people from being poor, and all of a sudden they put them in a setting where they're rich. And they're trying to see, how will these people change? Will they all change the same way? No, because each one is a unique expression of source. So they all react in different ways, and this puzzles them. Mm-hmm. Great movie, by the way, really. Many people take it to be the predecessor of The Matrix. So many have also said, well, not many, but there's a couple people that keep bringing up, why don't you talk about the bhu-mandala? Why are you ignoring, that might give evidence to the flat Earth, and we've shown this, how there are all sorts of worlds. There's higher planes, the middle, and the lower, and there's so many different lokas. Lokas are worlds. So, Krishna is on his loka now. That, he was here, incarnation, and did what he had to do. And, it is equated that when he left in about 3102 or 3104 BC, about 5,000 years ago, that the Dark Age, the Kali Yuga, began with his leaving. He was perhaps the last of these beings that were benevolent beings trying to teach us how the earth and the world and the multiverse works. They were teaching us the secrets of consciousness, very much like what we get from the Galactic Federation and a lot of these higher beings, because it's pretty apparent. Any teachings that are so authoritarian, like you can only do things this way, that comes from the dark side. It's pretty easy. Unless we're, again, just talking about the fact that we should all be operating out of love and compassion and oneness, understanding the oneness. When you get past that, if it starts to get dogmatic, you're getting into dark side. You're getting into control, because that's not what life is all about. We're each here having our own unique experience.
And, I think even with this channeling, Laurel, and this one is very thought-provoking. And that's the whole point. These beings are here to teach us, to get us to think for ourselves, give just enough information to have you go, but not put out any real control situations there.
So if you look at the way the planets revolve around the sun, from a certain perspective, you could look at that and say, well, it looks kind of flat. They're going in a plane. So they look kind of flat when you look at the plane. Same thing with the bhu-mandala. But does that mean that they are flat? When we look at the legends of Atlantis, it's pretty interesting too, because when it's described, it's also almost like it's describing, again, this plane of existence, these worlds within worlds. Also, you could view these successive circles as being, again, the way we have electrons circling around the nucleus. Again, so they're giving us clues to the fractal nature of everything. And we could look at projection maps of the Earth. Like if we looked and opened up a book and we saw a map of the Earth, you could, in a simplistic point of view, look at it and say, wow, the Earth's flat. I mean, it's flat on this page.
Right.
Right? So again, when we look at things, we have to kind of look with an open mind. In the lotus of the bhu-mandala, the 7 islands resemble as circular coverings. And we look at the lotus again. Look at the lotus itself. And if you use a little imagination looking at the various petals, you could almost kind of think about these as concentric rings going down around the core. And of course, the lotus is representative of chakras. Mm-hmm. And it's always been that way. Whenever we see pictures of Lakshmi, the goddess of abundance and prosperity, and again, Lakshmi in many ways has been misrepresented as just being, all about, if I call on Lakshmi, I could get a lot of things. I could have a big mansion. I could have a big car. I could have,
rich.
No. It's that prosperity that comes from fulfillment within, having that abundant love, because in our interactions with her, and she's a very real being, she's all about love, and she is just such a blessing to experience her energy. But again, these things are representations. These things are depictions. We get into problems when we take things too literally. And if you just look at, the Bible from a literal sense, Jacob's ladder, okay, so there's a physical ladder that actually, was planted somehow. The base is on the earth. and it was so tall it reached to the heavens, and there were literal angels going up and down this ladder. No, well, where did Jacob wrestle with the angel? Well, Peniel. There's another clue, pineal, because it all happens in the plane of the mind.
Right. And the pineal gland is kind of like your antenna. It's your antenna of consciousness. So it, well, exactly like I said, it's an antenna. It reaches out there and it brings in information for you.
So Richard Thompson, who is no longer with us, he was really my introduction to discovering the Vedic writings and writings that are almost what we would call post or pre-Vedic as well. Just this amazing wisdom that comes from the area of Harappa and the Indus Valley, and really it's left over from way before that. This is the wisdom that was given to us by these benevolent beings that are no longer physically with us for the most part. There are a few that can still manifest and do manifest here physically and do roam the planet. And there will be more. For instance, remember we were talking about that gigantic incoming comet that's going to go around Saturn and not come any closer than that? Well, Cindy went further going in, and she sees it as a gigantic mothership the size of a planet. And it's supposed to be here in 2031. Well, these are good beings that are in this ship.
It's really hard for me to explain. They're a precursor to a world that's going to be changed by other beings. And they're here to kind of break the ice, kind of bring in a new understanding, and not in a fearful way. They're basically an introduction teaching us that what we believed all of our lives and what we have been told is not true, that we are not alone. There are different ways of doing things. There are different ways of healing, that these modalities of modern medicine and just basically human consciousness is not as we've been told.
Not at all. Not at all. And so when we look to the end of Mother Shipton's prophecy, she talks about silver ships, coming down and strange beings coming out and teaching mankind how to become renewed. And this is what happens cycle after cycle after the dark ones lose their hold. Everything starts anew, and we start in a harmonious way. And this is what they're going to do. And it's not just Mother Shipton's. Look to the Hopi. Look to all the indigenous people all around the world. The ancient and shining ones, return. And when we talk about ancient and shining ones, because many of them are what are going to appear to be just in energy bodies, just, there's been depictions in some movies where you see these beings of light. Well, these beings are going to teach us, and they're going to help us to start out new in a positive way, outside of this horrible matrix. So again, this is kind of giving us a clue to the greater sense of what the universe, multiverse is. When we look at, and we're looking here at the Andromedan galaxy, well, from this perspective, it feels like if we just shifted it a little bit, it would be flat. But in reality, when you get close up, you're going to see there's a lot of spherical looking stars and planets. And really, if you looked at ourselves at a core level, each one of us is just basically a ball of conscious energy. The body is just a vehicle. If we look again from a certain angle at basically a sulfur atom, kind of looks like you could take it as flat. Just imagine, shifting it over. But, are the individual electrons, is the nucleus flat? Well, and again, what does it really matter in the bigger sense of things? The thing to take away is that we are living in a hologram. And this book came out in 1991, and I remember getting it when it was brand new, and this was a big, big eye-opener for me. And there's been many other ones that came out since that are, fabulous books. This is Michael Talbot, The Holographic Universe. A Remarkable New Theory, And reality explains paranormal abilities of the mind, latest frontiers of physics, and unsolved riddles of brain and body. Because, as is said by the greatest minds that we've had on the planet, the multiverse, the universe, the multiverse is mind stuff, ultimately. And there's a PDF here that I will attach for you guys to take a look at. So, they're exploring from the scientific point of view. And that's why I like Richard Thompson so much, because, he also has a Hindu name, that because he studied the Sanatana Dharma and the Vedic text so much that he basically realized that this is what I believe. And he shared it from a scientific point of view, but then also going deep in, you could see that what is being taught to us in these ancient texts is the same thing. And so this is by Nick Bostrom. This is a good paper to look at. Are you living in a computer simulation? Well, it's fascinating. If you need to have things rewritten, contact Ganesha. Mm-hmm. Right? And we've had direct contact with Ganesha. Ganesha is typically, thought of to look like this elephant-headed deity. And there's many legends about that as well. When we talked to him, it almost sounded like he was referring to himself as a computer program. Because what's his purpose? He can rewrite your soul contracts.
Mm-hmm. He's the remover of obstacles. So he can do things for you, but you definitely have to reach out and you have to make acknowledgement so that his energy has permission to come into your field and make changes.
And I included a few more, basically articles there talking about, is our universe really a hologram? And each universe might just be a single cell in something much bigger. So then we talk multiverse. Is the universe a hologram? The strange physics of black holes. So what happens? It's like all this stuff from sci-fi. It's like people were either tapping into some truth about wormholes, because we do know, they are real now. And these things do exist. And just think about Stargate and all that. This is really pretty wild. And reality is just so much more magical than we would imagine. All these people like Cindy, that were told, hey, stop talking to nobody. There's nobody there. Well, it's nobody to maybe, the person that has a calcified pineal, but somebody that doesn't have a calcified pineal might be picking up on a being that's just outside of the visible spectrum of most people. The universe itself is a fractal. So this is how the nature of the universe works. And this is a good article on quantum origins of cosmic structure. So we can look at things from a scientific point of view, and we can look at things, just observe. As we said so many times, if you look at a brain cell and the universe, they look an awful lot alike. Is this just a coinkydink? Mm-hmm. Is that all just a coincidence? How about, cellular mitosis and the death of a star, looking at an eye and a nebula? These things are all reflective. Think about the vascular network and the way leaves look, or roots look. Again, there's clues everywhere. Even lightning can appear, very much like a vascular network. And when we look to hurricanes, and even tornadoes, they're very much like chakras, whirling, vortexes of energy. The universe is a fractal. So whatever energy signature we carry will be repeated infinitely again and again until we change that vibration. And this is why the dark side wants to put us into these dogmatic beliefs. There's only one God, and this is his name. Look at these things. Look at these things realistically. I mean, they're out there. They should be smacking us right in the face. I am a jealous and vindictive God. Well, if you are A, then that means you're not all. Mm-hmm. Because you're one of more than one. So that tells me you're not really source. It's pretty obvious. It's pretty simple. It's all we got to do is look at it, because, it's all right there. Anytime we put a label on something, it can't be the all. And, Taoism does a good job showing that with the representation of the Tao. And, if we read the Tao Te Ching and meditate on it, it becomes really apparent that anything you name is not the ultimate source. These are all finite beings. These dogmas are created to divide us, to keep us fighting, never-ending battles, lowering our vibration, our frequency, and keeping our minds in a limited point of view. And again, so many of these prophecies, when, every time I hear somebody say, well, we're in the end days and, God's going to come back soon, or Yeshua, Jesus, is going to be planting his feet and he's going to toast all the bad guys. It's like you let that big sigh of, oh, no, because this is up to us. This is up to us. This is a battle that goes on in each one of our minds.
We are all here we're responsible for our own projection. And that's it. That's kind of the bottom line. You're responsible for your own journey, for your own experiences, and any benevolent being is not going to interrupt or alter what you came here to learn.
There are so many that get so much. They can see what's happening, but yet they're not quite ready to take that full step, because the dogmas, again, can be a safety net, a safety blanket. It kind of gives you a false sense of security to wrap yourself up in, but the reality is we are powerful beings co-creating reality. That's our destiny, because source lies within every single one of us. And source doesn't want us to do everything alike. He doesn't, he, she, it, because it's beyond any sort of gender in the first place. Because again, anytime you put any sort of limitations, you're not talking about source. You're talking about something that's limited, something that's finite. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, vibration. We've talked about that a million times. Tesla, was definitely channeling from higher entities. He was able to tap into things most of us can't. Now, we are dead stars. Physically, our bodies are made from dead stars. But we are alive stars in another sense. Because if you really saw what you are, you're just basically consciousness that appears as a ball of energy. That's what we are, folks. These bodies are a chance, a vehicle in order to learn and grow from.
Mm-hmm. And one of these days, we went down to the graveyard here and we took some pictures, and I'm really good at getting orbs. And when you look at these orbs, they all have faces in them, sometimes many faces in them. They're so cool. So as soon as I get that downloaded on the computer, we're going to do an orb show. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, and actually in the video we did do from the graveyard a couple weeks ago, you can see an orb. I think it was around 7 minutes and something in.
Yep.
Clearly goes by us and then heads on its way. If the whole universe can be found in our own body and mind, this is where we need to ask our questions. They get us going without. Believe in this book. Put your hand on this book. Swear by this book. You're limiting yourself if you do. Don't you understand that? I mean, if you give in to saying, I believe in this limited point of view that somebody else has come up with or a group of beings have come up with, then you're not being creative. You're not exploring. You're not really fulfilling your mission, which is simply to be a unique representation of Source itself.
Very, very, very important things to sit and ponder, because that's why we're here. We're here to live and experience as a piece of Source.
It is written that ye are gods. Don't you know it's written that ye are gods? There are 5 to 10 times more stars in the known universe than there are grains of sand on all the world's beaches. But a single grain of sand has more atoms than there are stars in the known universe. All these things, what did they show us? They just show us infinite possibilities. And the fact that one single individual is incredibly miraculous and has unlimited potential. A human being is part of a whole, called by us the universe. And now many, recognize that uni, we use multi, and multi will probably be replaced by something else again, because, even if the universe is a single cell in the body of something bigger, the entire multiverse might be just the body of something living within something else. And as above, so below, and it goes on forever in every single way, in every single possible direction.
Yeah, it's really cool to ponder.
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. So, the big thing to take from all this, and we're still going to play Laurel's message, there's no limiting the possibilities. This is the thing that's incredible. And when we step outside of this matrix, because we are just basically, we've been trapped inside this dark, tiny little weak-minded matrix. It's really a pathetic attempt by beings that are so pathetically limited by their own choosing.
It's true. It's just completely by their own choosing. So, you got to think about that too. It's your choice.
So in a way, we should really pity them, because they are missing the point on everything. My brain is only a receiver in the universe. There is a core from which we obtain knowledge, strength, and inspiration. I have not penetrated into the secrets of this core yet, but I know that it exists. That was from Tesla. And, he was obviously one that was amazing. And yet, can you imagine a world with 8 billion Teslas on it? What could be achieved?
Wow.
Well, as humanity awakens, that's where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, when we look to the Sanatana Dharma, Brahma's lifespan, a day of Brahma equals a kalpa. 1 day and 1 night equals 4.32 billion years. Brahma's lifetime is 100 Brahma years, equivalent to 311 trillion of our human years. And so it's interesting when we're looking at these massive numbers that come out of this Vedic Hindu system, which really is a remnant of what was known globally pre-invasion of the dark energies, where they locked down on all this knowledge. And we look at what they tell us the life of our sun is. These numbers correlate. It's pretty amazing to see all this. And, the sun itself is truly a relay from source to us. It's constantly bringing us information. Light is energy, and it's also information. It's knowledge. It helps bring about gnosis, which is knowing. Study all you want with your left brain. Memorize as many books as you want. And I was like that. And, I even basically hand copied whole books, like, from the Bible, just to memorize them. And then at some point, everything shifted to more going within and experiencing. Yeah, this vast reservoir of left brain knowledge is interesting when we finally start seeing the synchronicities that go together from all different sources all over the planet. And so, if we're only absorbing just one point of view on things, we will never know the greater truth. And we will never know our own capacity for creation, and never even understand who we are.
Yep, it's just, so much revolves around us being confined.
So, in a sense, yeah, the physical body is residing inside the body of a bigger being. An obvious one would be all of us as being cells in Gaia. Gaia is just a cell in something bigger, and it goes on forever. There's one universe, yeah, among unlimited material universes, and then shift the vibrational frequencies, and they're unlimited too. It's just a huge ocean of consciousness out there, exploring its own creation through unlimited different vehicles. This is beautiful, and this is very, very exciting. So I want to share with you what we got from Laurel from the Galactic Federation Pleiadian High Council.
Namaste. How are you today?
We are well up here. We're doing well. The energies are good. We are keeping an eye on things. watching things change and evolve.
Are you currently in Earth orbit?
We are. We are above the Earth. If you were here, you could see the planet. You could see your planet, but not in the way the pictures show you. You could see a big portion of the planet. It's like a big movie screen.
You know, there are those that believe the planet is flat or a disk.
We feel that these energies that people put out are very confusing energies. It is not that the Earth is flat. It is that it is a projection.
So that's basically what I've perceived, is that our whole reality is a projection of sorts.
It is a projection of what you wish to accomplish and what you wish to achieve in this lifetime. Sometimes people wish to change their perception, change their accomplishments. This is where people can rewrite their soul contracts, rewrite what they want to perceive and how.
And again, for those that we will share maybe portions of this is Laurel from the Galactic Federation and the Pleiadian High Council, correct?
Yes, we do like to share our knowledge of human evolution, how you're evolving, how you are perceiving the changes in your personal life, the changes in your body. These can all be very confusing when going through such a fast evolution process as we are now.
So you were saying that it's a projection. Is there then such a thing as consensus reality and individual reality being separate?
As you go up the scales and dimensions, yes, you can have these different realities, different timelines. It is truly all about perception, though.
It is how we perceive things. So I had communication with Lakshmi, who is the goddess of abundance and prosperity, last night, and she was talking about how our 3D reality affects them there. Basically, fifth density for the most part, but many of these beings, as we do, we operate on more than one density at one time, correct?
We do. If you can imagine, if you are a parent of a human child, or even if you have a pet, how these children or pets behave under your care can say a lot about you. It is similar. Your higher selves want you to do well. It reflects onto them many different things. They want to see you have these experiences in growth and understandings as they did. Very much looking at it like a parent-child relationship. This is the best way to perceive this.
It's been a wonderful journey of discovery the past year, especially maybe the past 6 months for myself. And so to perceive it as a father and a mother, they hold the totality of the body of the child within them. When the child comes, the child is a new, unique individual. And I have gotten, and maybe it's correct or maybe it's not correct, but my understanding is we could be viewed as children of the devas, of the gods, so to speak, but yet we're individuals. When we look at our higher self, that is us, but yet we are separate and yet one at the same time. Is this correct?
We do have a very good view of what most people perceive the reality of things. It does come in layers. It is best when it's been acknowledged by the self, and one's self has a complete understanding of who they are. This is why we encourage individual growth patterns. We discourage people from seeking answers from other entities about who they are. You should always see yourself as an extremely unique individual with unique experiences. This is how you should be living your human experience.
And so the relationship between us and, say, the devas, the gods, is one of mutual exploration in some ways.
It is. You learn through them, they learn through you, just as if you were to have a child or a pet. You both are learning from each other, blending experiences and knowledge, coming up with new scenarios. This is the essence of growth. This is Source acting out itself.
Yeah, so the understanding that I've gotten mostly through studying the Sanatana Dharma is, again, everything we see is source. Everything is source. There's not a place where source could not be. Yet source itself is beyond even anything that's just purely physical. It's even the unmanifest. It's the potential of all things as well as the realization of all things.
This is true. There are many different potentials, and this is why we have so many different timelines, and why your belief system is so important to you. And this is why it is so important for you to be able to gather your energies together to a certain point to change outcomes. Because this is the nature of reality. It can move, it can bend and change.
There is nothing set in stone, basically, so to speak. All prophecies can be changed or altered.
They can. They do wish to write books for you to follow and to stay within the lines, to keep you under control. But we encourage people to look within their own soul, look within your own heart, find out what is true for you. Do not allow yourself to be controlled. We are coming out of that phase of being controlled where we are learning the truth, and the truth to everything is freedom and oneness.
And that is a beautiful thing. That is most definitely a beautiful thing. So ultimately, there's never anything really to fear, and yet fear is the one thing they're always projecting onto us.
They place fear in different technologies. They place fear mostly in and through your phones, your devices, your tablets, your computers. They place fear in messaging formats through emails. They place these technologies everywhere, knowing that you will be using them, and these technologies affect your aura, which can in turn affect your 3D body. It is best to always stay away from them where you can.
I wanted to just ask a couple quick questions. If we look to the epic, the Ramayana, there is a being that kidnaps Sita, who is an incarnation of Lakshmi. And Rama, who is an incarnation of Vishnu, goes and rescues her with the aid of Hanuman and many other benevolent beings. I've taken this Ravana, who is recognized, he's the being that kidnaps her. He's called a Rakshasa. Also, he can, I guess, be considered an Asura. And the Asuras are negative beings who, if you are given to the description of them in this epic, are basically beings that come to Earth and just take over things. So I've always equated them with the Ijiji and the Anunnaki. Would this be correct?
You are correct in equating them with that, except they are more of a parasite or pirate. This channel is having trouble with her heart.
So that's where we had to end that one. So I hope you guys found that interesting. Yeah, we see parallels really from other traditions. And so when we look at the Norse world tree, you see, view it as more of a tree with roots going down. And then the earth or Midgard is right there in the middle. And so in some ways, it provides support for that which is above. And that's how our reality affects the higher realms as well. The higher the vibration we can hold, the higher they can hold on the higher realms. Mm-hmm. And we also heard them refer to us as children of the gods, so to speak. Ever wonder why in Greek mythology and all these other mythologies around the globe, the gods have human emotions? Well, because they do. Mm-hmm. Because they do. There's a direct correlation between us and them. They have distorted everything. Somebody said, "Haven't you ever read the Book of Enoch?" Yeah, I read it, but I don't take it for verbatim. I don't believe in it. I think it has some interesting things in there, but again, this is something that comes out of the controller's playbook, mm-hmm. and it is part of their playbook. When it says in it that these what they portray as dark beings being locked up to the end of time, well, I see a lot of evil on this world. I see a lot of stuff happening. I see the control system that's in place is dark, and it's a dark matrix. So how are they locked up? They're not locked up. It's the dark ones that have controlled this matrix. So a lot of the things that we get from the controller's playbook is in inverse. They recognize that people will wake up to certain degrees. And so what they want to do is, they can't stop somebody from waking up in a certain direction. And they'll acknowledge some truth and lead you down a dead end. And that's what they do time and time again. And we've, correlated this to, for instance, you might be awake in a sense that you're more spiritual than religious. But then you might view it as everything that's going on is just a leftist plan. It's all the Democrats. And so then you might not, even want to look at what the BUSH family did, or their ties with, the NAZI apostrophe S's. and recognize that, no, this is the system that we are in. It's way bigger than, I feel like people are missing the boat when they're basically talking about deep, STATE. Equate that on a planetary realm, and equate that on an even bigger than planetary realm. You got to look, deeper. They keep us divided in so many ways. People are awake perhaps politically, but they're asleep spiritually. People are awake spiritually, they're asleep politically. Or they give into the system and, allopathic medicine that we have out there, and get trapped in things that will limit their ability to perceive and limit their ability to actually utilize their own consciousness through going to the DR period and getting some PRE scripts.
Mm-hmm.
Scripts. Wait a minute. PRE scripts? You mean, if I take this, I'll be playing out the script again, as in scripture, as in everything. I mean, it's all right in front of us. It's all part of the spell. And again, English, spelling, casting spells on everybody en masse. It's all right in front of us. And, we're going to, and many of us already are, out of the system mentally. And the system's going to collapse on itself. And I have a PDF here of the Shiva Sutras, and there are many different translations of this, and it's always good to compare, just like, you have your King James version of the Bible. King James, the 33rd degree Mason, head of all Masonic churches in Scotland and in England, that King James. It's the same thing too with, you need to go, even if you're looking into, say, Shaivism, Kashmiri Shaivism, which is a very, very, some might say, complicated formula of how the multiverse works, but it's an exploration in consciousness. But again, when you translate from one language to another, things can be changed or distorted. So it's always good to take a look at more than one viewpoint on it. But this is an exploration of consciousness. So, it gets into the Atman. And what's the Atman? Well, you could say that's the eternal side of us. That's the source that's living within us. And what is it? It's pure consciousness. That's what we are. We're pure consciousness. You're not a body. Your body is just, it's a vehicle. As we have said with the Mahabharata, you go into the Bhagavad Gita, which is a segment of the Mahabharata, and it talks about worn out bodies being discarded by the user, just as worn out garments are discarded by the user. So again, anything that can be done to our body, and they can, in the system, unfortunately, do things to us. Like if you're in the land down under, come the 15th, many people might be going hungry, because they're enacting laws. But again, just like that biblical picture that's given to us of Satan taking Jesus, Yeshua, up on top of the mountain saying, look, all this can be yours if you but bend the knee. What good is all this? This is temporary. This is just one little sliver. This is not even a page in the existence of the true self. But the question is, will you bend the knee?
Right. That's a pretty serious question.
Yes. So I want to thank you guys as always. I hope you guys found this interesting and informative. Put out questions and we'll try to answer them as we go with new videos. As always, recognize too that you are a unique expression. You don't have to conform to anything if you're brave enough and have that courage and believe enough in yourself. And they try to take away that belief in ourselves. They want us to trust them, believe in them. And that's a very, very limiting thing to do. Mm-hmm. And that keeps you away from your true purpose, which is to be your own unique expression of source.
Absolutely.
God bless and namaste.
Namaste.